more than strength. All right, welcome to More Than Strength. I'm Dan Flanick. This is Jeff Batiste, Dr. Jeff Batiste. I always try to say doctor. I'm such an asshole for that. Like you earned that title.
The more
so
you say, the better.
I should definitely say
I love
it. And today we're joined by Kortney Olson, the CEO of Girl, G-R-R-R-L. Yeah, there it is. Oh, that's awesome.
Nice.
She's coming to us from Thailand, and I was Thailand.
There you go.
I see what you did there. So, first, why do you live in Thailand? What brought you there?
I've been living in Australia, but by the way, thank you for having me on. It's a pleasure.
Thanks for coming on.
To talk with you, young men. I've been living in Australia for the past 5 years, and then relocated to Thailand when we launched this company. So pretty much just sold everything in the house and moved to, a more affordable place of living where we could still have the same quality of life and work for a number of months and not get paid. That's what you do. It's just hustle.
Yeah.
Find a solution, and here we are. Yeah.
Where did you grow up?
I grew up in Northern California, so I'm a Cali girl. And, I know it's a little different than SoCal, but yeah, up close to Oregon, in a little place called Eureka Tweeka. I'm very blessed that I still have all my teeth. True story. Just so you know, Ronald Reagan. Can we cuss on this, or we?
That's fine.
Ronald Reagan wasn't fucking around when he started that campaign of just say no. It's just too bad it didn't work.
So we've talked a couple times before, and you've briefly mentioned. I'm just going to dive right into this, and we're going to get kind of real on this because we want people to kind of know where you've come from and the things you've gone through and what's made you. So take us back to, because I know you mentioned you've had some struggles with addiction before. Take us back to maybe why that all began, or to that point in time where maybe those demons started.
Yes, absolutely. How much time do we have? No, I'm just kidding.
We could break it up into 2 episodes if we have to. Just share what you want to share.
Share your shit. Hashtag the realness. Okay.
Yeah.
So looking back, I grew up because I've done a lot of work around this stuff, right? That's what happens when, you find yourself in recovery, is you have to look at, okay, well, what am I running from? Why am I putting drugs and alcohol in my body to change the way that I feel about myself? You want to get down to the root of the problem. So after, a lot of analyzing and writing and so forth, I've come to the realization that all of my issues were driven from poor body image. So I grew up, I have ADD as a result of smoking too much meth. And my wow is in here. I'd get up and not move with the computer, but I'm in my song, and I don't want to scare any of our viewers or make them jealous. So let's that's it. Thank you, Benny. Don't want to make anybody too jealous. So, oh yeah, P.S. I'm in my underwear. Okay.
The thing that came to my mind when you said that, I just that song, "Let Me See That." Dun, 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 dun.
I don't know it. Oh, that song.
Yeah, that song. Yeah, the thong song.
Oh yeah, it's on my playlist. I'm not gonna lie. It's on
Were you just listening to it?
Yeah. Dun, dun, dun. That's it. But yes, as a result, poor body image. And a couple of other different factors. I grew up with an alcoholic mother. My life was constantly under duress, and no sanity. I was constantly trying to control situations, and growing up not knowing what an alcoholic was, right? So I always just thought my mom was crazy, and that she wasn't a bad person that needed to get good but that she was a sick person that needed to get well. You know, I had no understanding of she was battling an illness. And the thing with alcoholism is science doesn't have an exact answer, but, you know, the result is generally comes from learned behavior, right? Because we role model what we grew up with, or DNA, whether it's hereditary and genetics or a combination of both. So I'm pretty sure I got screwed on both ends of the stick there. Hardcore. You know what I mean? But I'm very grateful. I'm a grateful, recovered alcoholic addict that, you know, I look back at all of that stuff and say, you know, that because of that, I'm a fucking awesome person. And I'm even more grateful because, like I said, I have all my teeth and all my limbs, and I'm pretty fucking awesome. So, but yeah, that definitely, you know, the insecurities around my body is what was, you know, driving me. And it was a buildup, you know, like it started with trying to count calories from like junior high, and then got into high school and it was like anorexia and bulimia. And then at the end of high school, I got into speed, and, you know, good old Catholic private high school and ASB president. And I was even in a fucking Christian rock band. Okay?
Were you the singer?
Whoa.
Lead singer?
Whoa. You just heard me sing the song. I couldn't carry a tune if you strapped it to my back. Right? You can carry a lot of weights to go to a photo shoot down the side of a cliff. But singing, no. I played percussion, actually.
Oh.
Yeah. I know it's not as cool as saying, yeah, I played the fucking drums. Percussion, whatever. I was in the band. Christ, we were tight like this. And then you smoke a bunch of meth and whatever. You kind of goes out the window. So, but yeah, yep. You know, that was a quite a life-changing experience. And, you know, when you go down those paths, sometimes, you know, we've got to fall face first a number of times before we actually find our way out of the shit. You know, so it was a number of years. It was about a 10-year process of continuing to fuck up. There's so much for me trying to work on my mouth, huh? At least I'm aware of it, right? Yeah. At least I'm aware of it today. So, but yeah, you know, my story is long, and I won't go into too much of the war story part of it, but, you know, often people just see the end result and think, wow, how did they get through that? And the reason why I share all my stuff is because I want people to know that, you know, it's okay to be whoever you are and whatever you've gone through. And if you look at those mistakes as part of your training, you know, like, yes, I experienced a rape as a result from, you know, this drug addiction, and, you know, all sorts of stuff that we normally look at and say, wow, that's horrible. But, you know, you get to a place where you look at everything and you have some level of gratitude, you know, because of that experience. I understand the workings of the world a lot more. You know, I understand a lot of different things, and, yeah. So anyway, that's, you know, that's part of the story. And, like I said, I could talk your guys' ear off. Normally when I talk and I'm presenting at groups or, you know, big or small level, I'll usually pull out a timer because I'm a bit of an egomaniac, and I'm like, I like to hear myself talk. So I'm just going to go ahead. Whoop, there's that F-bomb again. It all starts with awareness, you two. You're in your early 20s, right? Is that right?
Yeah, he's in his mid-20s. I'm in my early 20s. So he's a lot older than me.
A lot.
That's a doctor. What do you expect? Right?
There you go.
But if you guys, like, you know, looking back at your age, can't believe I'm saying this, but when I was your age, oh my God.
It's like yesterday.
When I was your age, you know, if I had a mentor to listen to, you know, that I aspired to be like, a role model, my life would be very different, you know? So it's like at your age and learning these important tools of awareness. You know, I keep saying awareness and I keep talking about the F-bomb. It's like, because a lot of us just go through life on autopilot. and we keep repeating old behaviors and patterns, and we don't stop and take our inventory. We don't, at the close of every night, look at where, we succeeded, where we needed to improve. So a lot of us do like the fucking New Year's, there's the F-bomb. Getting old now, isn't it? It's not as old as me. We do our New Year's resolutions, and we're like, yay, cool, I'm going to do all this and that. And then we don't fucking check it. We don't check in for a year.
No.
Box, okay? But, we don't check in until the next New Year. Or, at best, some of us might do every 3 months, once a quarter. And I forget what the analogy is. But, it's like a pilot. If you go 1% off course from, like, let's say, California to Australia, and you travel like 1 degree, not percent, 1 degree off course, you're going to wind up in like fucking Antarctica. Yeah, right. You think like, 1 degree, like that's not really a big deal, whatever. But when in reality, it's like, yeah, you end up way off course. So if we're not checking in, ideally on a daily basis, then we have no trajectory. We have no course to follow. So that's why when I keep saying things like awareness, it's so important to have awareness about ourselves and people around us and stuff. So
it's a slippery slope too. Like if you do start to not be aware or not take the time to do that kind of thing, because like you said, you go into autopilot. And have you ever heard that when you talk, it reminds me of some of the people I've read. Have you ever heard of Eckhart Tolle before? Yeah. So like he says that like what tends to happen if you don't take the time, and when you say awareness, it reminds me of the phrase he uses, watching the thinker. So kind of observing your thoughts and not hating yourself for them.
Yeah.
And it's like it is like a sickness, and I think he's like a lot of people are like, he says sick in the head, but he doesn't not like in a straitjacket freaking out kind of thing, but it's a metaphor for or he compares it to cancer. Like cancer is a result of your cells reproducing uncontrollably. And the same thing is happening with your thoughts if you don't take the time to realize that it's actually happening.
100%. And that's what a majority of people are caught up in. It's funny because in recovery, alcoholics will often hear people say, "Oh, I hear voices in my head," and it's just like, yeah, I have 20, and I intentionally I have 50, and every single one of them has a name. But you're right, we don't become aware of the voices in our head, and a lot of us, just we don't pay attention to it. And the fact that you even know who Eckhart Tolle is great, because those lessons that we learned, that's the stuff we should be taught in school, not who the 32nd president of the United States was. I don't care, nor will I ever. However, I had to study my ass off to regurgitate that fact. Why didn't we have to regurgitate, assertiveness skills or shit that would actually help us be happy in life, right? As opposed to, learning all this stuff when we get into our mid to late 20s. So that's great that, you're aware of that, because 100%.
I've dealt just personally, tons of just anxiety and addictions of my own in my life too. And I think that that's led me to people like him, and Alan Watts is another one that I love listening to speak. So I think that, if you take the time to actually recognize that your thoughts are controlling you and maybe creating these fears and these doubts in your mind and making you do things that maybe you shouldn't be doing, I think it really helps. But I think back to your point about how they don't teach us in school, this is something that we talk about. We've talked about with a few people on our podcast before, and that I think that at least school and typical American culture, it teaches you to be very compliant and conform. And it doesn't at least in my experience, it didn't really, no one ever said, hey, you don't have to go and do a normal job. You don't have to go be an accountant or do your normal 9 to 5, sell insurance, whatever it is. Like, if you want to do that, that's great. Like, go for it, but you don't have to do that kind of thing. It always kind of felt like we were taught you got to get an A, you got to go to college. When you're done with college, you got to get a job and you work until you retire. And when you retire, that's when you can be happy, because then your job's all done. So it's interesting, just that you bring that up as well, how school they don't teach you the things that I think, like you said, would be way more beneficial in adult life.
You just think on a deeper level, I think.
Yeah.
Than just the run-of-the-mill everyday type stuff.
100%. And, as much as I despise network marketing, because I was one of the ones that got wrapped up in it and thought that's how I was going to change the fucking world, and women are great at it because women, all sorts of things. And I completely burnt myself out. But we're not taught about, those kinds of platforms in school. We're not taught how to be entrepreneurs. We're taught how to, do the exact opposite of chase the dream and go and find security and pick your major when you're 16 years old. I'm like, I just turned 35 and I still don't know what the fuck I want to do with my life.
Yeah. It's like when you're I'd say when you're like 10 and under, people ask you, hey, what do you want to be when you grow up? I want to be an astronaut. I want to be a fireman, whatever it is. And they want to be Superman. And then the older you get, the further people get away from encouraging you to do that. They're like, as you get older, then you're 15. They're like, what do you want to do? I want to be an astronaut. They're like, come on, be real. Be real. It's like, what do you mean be real? Like, I am being real. That's what I want to do. Like, go for it, whatever you want to do.
Or you just pull stuff out of your ass because you need to have an answer. And then there's even more pressure on you because you're like, I don't know, I'm lost. I don't have a purpose. And, that's a major challenge for people in their lives as well, is feeling that sense of emptiness and not having a purpose, because we all need to have something to make our lives feel fulfilled, even if it's the purpose of, seeing one stranger every day. Like, oh, that's my, we need something, even if it's that small, to feel like we belong here and we have some kind of purpose. And it's not just this mundane, 9 to 5 grind, but so many of us get caught up in that because we do what is safe, programmed, and that's all we know, and like even a 9 to 5, do a job that we hate. And I mean, I was there, right? So.
Yeah. So honestly, I was too for a little while, for like a month, and then I quit. Yeah. I was like, it was. Pew, 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 pew.
Right? Yeah, absolutely.
So I had an interesting conversation with a friend of mine the other day, and me and him, we travel a lot together, and we'll sit there and have he's reading a book that's just opened our minds completely, called Homo Sapiens. And it's all about why we survived as a species versus other Homo erectus and different things. And one of the reasons was gossip. We were able to socially bond with each other, which is a theory as to why we made it through thousands of years of difficulties. But I mean, that has nothing to do with. Yeah, it really is. But I think so. Back to the point, that has nothing to do with what we're talking about, but to the point that you just kind of made about people, kind of conforming or just being compliant and just kind of going about what society tells you should do. I had a conversation with a friend the other day, and he was just kind of fed up with something, I don't know, with people for some reason. I don't even remember, but the conversation was more important than that. He goes, I genuinely think the older I get, the more I think people just want to be led. And I think it kind of made me think well, that's really kind of a negative way to look at people. They're just these helpless things that just need someone to tell them what to do all the time. But then a part of, you look at it a different way, I kind of think it's we're here on Earth and nobody knows what the fuck to do. We're why the hell are we here? Nobody knows. So everyone's kind of looking around, bumping into each other, and they're well, that guy sounds like he knows what he's talking about, so I'm just going to kind of follow that guy. And I think that's a big reason why people, the society we live in today is the way it is, because it's well, those people, they sound like they know what they're talking about. I'm just going to do what they do. Do you think that that's a reason that it is the way it is?
Yeah, no, 100%. I think the other thing too is there's this concept that resonates with me. Are you drinking milk?
Yeah.
Take the morning.
I've been vegan for 2 weeks now and listen to me. Oh my God, are you drinking cracking milk? I did actually stop drinking milk a long time ago. I don't know why. I'm cute. You just want to pinch your cheeks having a cup of milk in the morning. Anyway.
I want to go to be big and strong.
Yeah, that's right. God, you're funny, you guys. Okay, so this concept of new souls and old souls, right? Like I have this belief, theory, or subscribe to the school of thought that, you know, there are a lot of souls on this planet that are new. And, you know, then you've got people like ourselves who are older souls who have more of a driving force, deeper purpose, burning passion, desire to figure shit out and actually take the time to analyze this stuff, you know, and have more insight and awareness and want to help people, right? So we're driven by being of service and sharing our experience and thriving versus, you know, getting wrapped up. Because, you know, a lot of us have those friends that are driven by drama. Like you said, the gossip factor or what have you, but just constantly creating drama or, you know, just seem like they're just constantly negative or stuck and then just have no inclination as to go and pick up Eckhart Tolle and read a fucking self-help book, you know, or Alan Watts. I wrote that name down because I remember you mentioned him before and I didn't write it down. So
it'll change your life.
I know, I bet. That's why I wrote that shit down.
Yeah.
I'm constantly seeking, you know, so those people who aren't constantly seeking though, I believe are newer souls. You know, if that some people, you know, that's going to shake their reality a bit because a lot of people, our beliefs drive everything that we do, you know, 100%. Everything is belief driven. Right. That's why Jesus fucking walked on water, because he had zero limiting self-beliefs, you know, or Buddha or all these people that did miracles, the prophets, you know, or like, why is it the crab that can grow a new leg? It's like, well, why can't we? Right. Like all of this shit is because our brains, like, have you seen The Matrix or are you boys too young for that?
I've seen The Matrix.
Yeah,
we got like a little macho there. We're like, no, we've seen The Matrix.
Yeah, we've seen that shit.
I don't remember anything. I was like 9, but I've seen it.
Yeah, good. Okay, cool. You know, I worked with teenage girls before my newest venture, and I'd ask them about The Matrix. They're like 16, 17 years old and out in Australia, so we're a little under a rock out there sometimes. But they're like, although I will say the Australians came up with the word selfie, because they shorten everything. And Wi-Fi. I throw that out there. Go Australia. I love you guys. But these girls were like, The Matrix? No, what's that? And I'm like, oh my God. So anyway, but I mean, really, this is the Matrix. Like, we are full on living in the Matrix. And I didn't start looking into this stuff until about 2007. You know, then that's when I actually got off of meth 100% and quit drinking. And that's when I kind of started to, just through a series of coincidence, right? There's no such thing as coincidence, but, and, you know, becoming more aware, I started questioning all this shit. Like, why is everybody miserable? Why don't I feel good enough? Why do I have all these negative thoughts? Where is this shit coming from? And, you know, it's like one of those nights, I don't know if you've ever done this, but, you know, you get on YouTube and you watch one video and then one conspiracy video leads to the next, to the next, to the next. Next thing you know, you're up till fucking 4:30 in the morning and you're like, holy fuck, what religion am I going to pick? We're all going to die. You know? Buddhist, Muslim, Seventh-day Adventist. Oh my God, who's right? Like, freaking the fuck out, right? So waking up for me was a very painful process. You know, like I can't tell you how many documentaries I've watched and how many blogs I've read and articles. And, you know, and because of things like conscious evolution and David Wolf, Avocado Wolf, whatever the fuck his name is, you know, Eckhart Tolle bringing this stuff up in the first place, the 4 agreements, you know, getting us to think on that side of the brain, but then also people whistleblowers, people exposing the truth. And your generation is much more privy to this stuff. Whereas, mine, I feel like we're a bit more brainwashed, but we all are waking up on a collective scale at a much more rapid pace. And people are starting to question, okay, well, why is all this shit that can cure cancer illegal? Like, why can't I go and get a vitamin B injection from the fucking pharmacy? It doesn't make any sense. Or why is marijuana illegal? And that oil stops kids from having fucking seizures when nothing else does. Our Constitution is written on hemp, and like just things you start questioning and you're like, this doesn't make any kind of sense. Or why is there fluoride in our water when that calcifies our pineal gland, which is meant to be our, gateway to the spirit world? And ayahuasca is illegal, and that's meant to connect us. And why was the CIA doing experiments with LSD and treating people with drug addictions and like all of these things that, like I'm telling you, one leads to another, to another, to another, to another. And then, there's this period of being full of fear, right? Because in the Matrix, you're like, remember that dude who was like, fuck it, give me the red pill, I want to eat the fucking steak. that little fucking shit, that little guy you want to slap the shit out of. You fucking bitch. Fuck you. Go eat your fucking steak. Thank you. He was like, ignorance is bliss. And like, that's legit, because once you fall down the rabbit hole, there's no climbing out that motherfucker. Like, you're in it. And I wanted to run down the street and tell everybody and be like, oh my God, did you know, like, holy shit, and 9/11 was an inside job. And I was so freaked out and pissed off and upset. And we've got more mainstream things like Snowden. I don't know if you guys watch Snowden. It's like, why is he banned to Russia, but yet Hillary Clinton's fucking a presidential, well, not now, but she was potentially going to be running our entire country, and 33,000 emails have been deleted off of her server. And yet the guy that exposed this shit going on, that was working for the CIA, and then now he can't even come back to his country. Well, you guys were spying on us, like through our webcams, through our phones. If you guys haven't seen that movie, you should check it out. It's pretty interesting. So people are waking up and people are starting to ask questions. And, you see your lotions will say, do you know about parabens?
No.
Here's one out of 1 million fucking things we could talk about. Seriously, it's ridiculous. But like, if you start, now that I've brought it to your awareness, your subconscious, it's called the reticulator activating system. So now that it's been brought up in your subconscious, you're going to start seeing it everywhere. So whether it's, in magazines or when you go to purchase your shit at the grocery store. So it's usually personal care products like shampoo, conditioner, shaving gel, just all that kinds of shit, sunscreen. But parabens, there's 4 kinds of them. Polymethyl paraben, methyl something, like, it's a long ass word, but you can recognize parabens at the end of it. They cause cancer. And they've been, introduced into our system, just like everything else, like colored fucking number 4C, right? Like all this
red
shit,
dye, number 2.
right? Like, if you Google too, I just saw something the other day. Actually, I've known about this. They're allowed to put into products aborted fetus stem cells or something like that, right?
Well,
and
I've heard they put them into vaccines. I've heard that's what they put, aborted fetus cells into vaccines. Is what I've heard before.
That, but also like potato chips, soda pop, just all sorts of crazy shit, and it's listed as a natural ingredient. I mean, it just right? So it's like that movie,
yeah.
like that movie 1984, where you're just like, what
oh
the
yeah,
fuck? Orwell, right? Like that's
Yep.
like what's going on. So again, the hope is that enough mass people wake up to the fact that, okay, we are truly living in a prison planet, and and just start asking questions and becoming aware and seeing that the system is set up for a specific reason. Start listening to Joe Rogan.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
So
I went to see him. I used to live in Nashville, and he came for his comedy tour, the one that just released on Netflix. I went to see that live. It was awesome. That guy's awesome.
Was it? He sounds pretty legit.
So it's kind of going back to this whole idea that you keep mentioning it, like the waking up and this conversation we're having. At what point, in your life did what triggered you to say, like, I need to stop doing like meth and drinking and that stuff? Like, what was it that triggered the stopping?
At what point did you disconnect from the Matrix? Did they unplug you and you were like, oh, hold on?
We hate to do this to you, but we're going to stop right there for part 1 of this interview with Kortney, because tomorrow we're going to release part 2, which is another about 30 minutes long. If you don't want to wait and you want to have access to this interview right now, you can go to morethanstrength.com, sign up for our newsletter, and we'll send you right away the link that you can listen to the rest of the interview with Kortney. Now, tomorrow is November 22nd, 2016, for those of you in the distant future who are listening to this episode. So you don't have to do that if this is in the future. After tomorrow, the 22nd, 2016, then you could just go ahead and listen to the next episode on iTunes or on our website, wherever it is that you come across it. So thank you. Please give us a good rating on iTunes if you enjoyed this episode, and stay tuned because tomorrow we have a lot more shenanigans with Kortney Olson.